Welcome back to BBC World News. Now, NASA wants to get to Mars and back to the Moon. Commercial ventures like SpaceX and Virgin Galactica are in a race to get the first tourists into space. Well, those who've actually experienced what it's like remain a tiny number. Colonel Terry Virts spent 200 days on the International Space Station as its commander. He's also a veteran of the NASA shuttle program. He's written a book, How to Astronaut, and Terry joins me live on the program now from Houston. Welcome here to the program. Let me rewind and take you back to that very first time into space. What are your standout memories?
The first mission was on the Space Shuttle Endeavour, and I thought I had prepared a lifetime. I had talked to astronauts. I'd been in the office for 10 years, and the actual experience of launch was so incredible. There were so many things that every 30 seconds I was seeing something I never imagined. Coming over the North Atlantic, it was about 4 in the morning, so dark, and we flew into our first sunrise, and I could see this blue band of the atmosphere, and I thought, I've never seen that shade of blue before. And that was something that really surprised me. Of all the things I was shocked about, I didn't expect to see a new color, but it was pretty awesome.
That's so interesting because I jotted down as my next question. I've put that you've trained for years. What to expect? Is it this or is it that? You knew so much of it, but were there still surprises once you got up there?
There were a lot. So the book is 51 short essays about different aspects of space travel. Some of them are things you would expect, like how to train for a space shuttle launch or how to fly a jet or how to train for medical training. But once I got to space, the thing that constantly surprised me was Earth and how beautiful it was. I think some folks get to space and they go, wow, that's pretty, and then they just want to get back to work. But for me, I was constantly drawn to look at the planet and look out above and look out in the galaxy. The view never got old for me, that's for sure.
And different parts of Earth you came to be able to identify, couldn't you? Just from the way it looked, whether it's just the bright lights or the colours.
Absolutely. My first mission, I installed this place called the Cupola. It's a module with 7 windows. It's like the module where Darth Vader and Luke were fighting each other. Darth Vader was standing in front of this giant cupola. And so we opened up all the windows. It had been about an hour, and I was back in the station working. And all of a sudden, the whole station turned red and pink. It just was the most eerie, bizarre thing. And it kind of freaked me out. And I went over and I looked out, and there was the outback of Australia, which is very red. There's a lot of iron in the soil. And that shocked me that I could see where I was over Earth by color. So over time, you know, the Congo is really, really, really dark. It's almost black. The jungle is so dark. Russia and Canada are white because there's snow there all the time. The Bahamas are really beautiful, turquoise blue. So all these different colors of the planet were something I wasn't expecting.
Now, you talk to groups all of the time. You know, they will ask you philosophical questions. They'll ask you mundane questions. What are the sorts of questions people ask you most?
Well, there's a few that I tried to answer in How to Astronaut. You know, how do you go to the bathroom in space, and are there aliens, are probably the two most common. Kids have the best questions. Sometimes these little 10-year-olds will have really detailed questions about black or dark matter and dark energy or time travel. I wrote a chapter about time travel in my book. And sometimes they ask you, how much money do you make and what kind of car do you drive? So I think my next book's going to be a book of questions for kids because they have the best. Now,
I've seen pictures of you doing those spacewalks, obvious dangers there, but you write in the book a series of what-if scenarios. How much time did you actually consider when you were up there, things going wrong?
Well, so you spend your whole astronaut career planning and training for things going wrong. NASA's really good at what-ifing, and if this happens, what's our backup plan? You know, we're really good at that. The problem is, in space flight, things just happen that you weren't planning on or you weren't expecting. We had a incident where we had an ammonia leak that's super deadly. The NASA trainers told us, if you smell ammonia, don't worry about doing the procedure because you're going to die. Thank God it turned out to be a false alarm, but for about an entire day, we thought the station was going to die. So you really need to be on your toes and flexible because emergencies come and you don't know what's going to happen next.
I read that you even did a bit of emergency dental surgery on one of your astronaut colleagues. A quick final questions, because we've only got about a minute or so left. You've drawn parallels with COVID-19 being up there in space, the sort of isolation you have to deal with, and of course what so many people have been through down here over the last 6 months. What are your fundamental lessons that you drew from that? And a second question on the commercial race that's going on. What do you make of that as well?
I added a chapter about isolation and space tourism. So for isolation, we got stuck in space. We had a series of rockets blowing up, and while they did the safety investigation, we were stuck. It ended up being a month, but we didn't know for how long, and we were short on supplies.
Yep.
So the most important thing is keeping an optimistic attitude. This COVID thing is terrible. It's killing huge amounts of people, jobs. It's just really bad. It's going to be over. We're going to get through it. You just have to keep that positive attitude. And physical exercise is super important. So figure out a way to stay active.
You also talked about the merits of art. Terry, we've run out of time, but thank you so much for joining us live there from Houston on BBC World.